You really do have to wring the necks of a 125. Oh, you don't have to do that on their bikes. Right then, we're meeting a couple of friends at this petrol station. Let's see if they're here. I'm actually a little bit early, so wouldn't surprise me if they weren't here. Don't know what happened to my front wheel then. Wonder how early I am. Not that I can check the clock on my bike because I don't have one. 9:53, that's not bad. Not bad at all. As the guy who's normally late for fishing, I'm actually on time for biking. People will read into that as they wish, I have no doubt. Here's one of them. There's Ed, looking good, sounding bloody amazing. Oh, here he is. Morning. Right, let's see what this van's gonna do. So this is my first time out on a ride with people, with other bikes, which is, well, it's already a nice experience. Nice people. Bikes sound amazing. There goes one. And there goes the other. Yeah, I think next year I need to be getting out on some more group rides. Motorbiking has always been a solitary affair for me, and that's always worked for me. You know, it's always been me and the bike, never been anybody else. And perhaps that's time, you know, perhaps it's time for that to change. Especially now that I know a couple of people with bikes. This wouldn't have been possible this time last year because neither Ed or Zach had their license or their bikes. It's so easy to pin the throttle on this bike. I'm not saying it has an amazing amount of power, because it doesn't. It's a 125. It's got about 15 horsepower. But out on a dual carriageway, national speed limit 70, I'm in 6th gear with the throttle pinned before you know it. Took a little bit of time to get up to speed on that hill, but still it'll do it. What is this van? Oh, lovely. I'm all for a bit of car spotting, or van spotting in that case. So it makes me wonder, that question again about 125s and 600s and people's assertion that you shouldn't start on a 600, and my belief that you should start on what you're comfortable with. Should you start on a 125? Yes, if that's what you've decided. Yes, if that's the route that you've decided is the best for you, the best fit for you. But being out with this, with a pair of 600s, does make me wonder what it would be like. Yeah, it's definitely a cold one. When I left this morning, it was 5 degrees with a feels like temperature of 0. And yes, it's definitely feeling like a zero on my hands right now. Wow, I didn't even know this was here. Yeah, I was thinking heated grips or maybe some winter gloves.
Yeah.
Or both.
Or heated gloves.
Or heated gloves. Right now I'm stood here and I'm thinking I want heated everything. But I'll have the lot, I'll take the lot. But I don't know, if I get some decent winter gloves, I might not actually need heated grips.
Yeah, we'll try them first, isn't it?
Yeah. But I'm going to ask you a question, because you just mentioned, so you've just mentioned Ed thinking about getting a bike.
Yeah.
And it's thinking about going DAS.
Yeah.
What was he looking at, 600s?
Yeah.
Okay, because he doesn't want to deal with the 125 and CBT.
No,
so
it doesn't.
So go on then. Right, honest opinion, 125 CBT, worth it or not worth it?
I think if you're so young that that's what you have to do,
yeah,
then you're stuck doing that. Or if you're lacking any confidence on the road, good to go with the 125 and learn the ways of the road whilst you're waiting to do your DAS.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But
yeah,
I think if you're old enough and sensible enough, you know, I think DAS and a 600 is sensible. Maybe going DAS and a 1200, you know, or a 1300R. Is, you know, that's asking for trouble, but yeah, a lot of the 600s can be really forgiving. You can get them at like this one here is like 77 brake horsepower, but can be restricted like he has down to, what have you got it down to? 49?
47.
40, so he's got it down to 47.
47 horsepower.
And you know, you can learn the weight of the bike, but I think the first thing you notice, Pete, when you get on a 600, which you'll notice in a minute,
yeah,
right? The first thing you'll notice is how much safer it feels to have all of that weight in front of you, and then when you go back to the 125, it feels a little bit like a bicycle with an engine attached to it.
So you think 125 CBTs, they have got their place?
They have got their place,
yeah.
But I think certainly for people as old as me or as ancient as you,
as ancient as me, you think that, you think ancient people like me should be doing a DAS?
Yeah,
okay,
definitely. Because I think you've got the mind for it. It's sensible.
Yes.
You know, I think certainly if you're around age 40 or over, you've kind of realised who you are and you've got a bit more value for life.
Yeah.
But young people getting on a 600, like Zach here, is incredibly young to be on a 600. Does need to restrict it, and you know what I mean, and be a bit more careful and be a bit more mindful. It's about maturity, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't want my 17-year-old son going and getting on a 600.
Nope.
So I get that, yeah. So in that respect, yeah, there's definitely a place for 125s, CBTs. Come on in. Right, so you're 21, you're on a 600, restricted to 47 horsepower. But same question, 125 CBTs, worth it, not worth it?
Yeah.
You still think they've got a place?
Yeah, I mean, that's how I got the confidence to get where I am now, do you know what I mean? I think that, like, you know, the staggered kind of tests make a lot of sense.
Yeah. See, because we were talking, weren't we, about the staggered tests? We were talking the day about staggered tests and, you know, like whether it's worth it, you know, whether we should have all these, you know, AMs, A1s, A2s, A's and all that nonsense. And in some respects, you think about cars, you go take a car test and subject to being able to afford the insurance, you can drive whatever you want.
Yeah.
Whereas
CBRs.
motorbikes, you know, the tests are quite progressive. But yeah, it's nice to hear from two people who are on 600s that actually you still think that 125 CBT has got a place.
Yeah.
You see, for me, as ancient as I am,
quote me on that.
Yeah. I got this idea in my head to get a motorbike, and I genuinely was convinced that that's what I wanted, but it might not have been for me. And I couldn't help but feel like, well, I've got no experience at all, for one, and secondly, I could go and drop 600-700 quid on a DAS course and a week of my time and get out on a bike and feel like, yeah, it's not really for me.
Yeah.
And I've lost all that money as well.
Well.
So in that respect, yeah, 125s has definitely got a place for me as well.
Well, that's why I feel like we wanted to offer you the opportunity to, you know, get the feel of a 600.
Yeah.
The key is you can get yourself out of trouble.
Yeah.
And I think one of the particular things that a lot of you other riders will come across is like when you sat at the traffic lights and you've got some boy racer who's going to be silly in his Mercedes or something like that, and you can tell they're going to do it. And on the 125, you can't get yourself out of that trouble. You're going to be getting into a, you know, emerging, you know, situation with a car which are really dangerous, in case you haven't noticed. And you know, you can get to 30 miles an hour very quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, you're 30 miles an hour. You're in your third gear, aren't you?
Oh yeah,
yeah. So with 30 miles an hour is at the beginning of first on a 600. So you know you're just out of trouble.
Yeah.
And a lot safer. And on motorways as well. You know, when you can go on motorways for a start. Something you can't do at the moment.
Yeah,
on a CBT. You can get yourself out of being next to a lorry. You know, whereas on a 125 you could be caught up with a car behind you and a lorry next to you.
Yeah.
And then you can't get out of that trouble.
Yeah,
you know, you open it up and it's just not giving you anything else.
And that's it. Round town, 125's round town, they're absolutely fine.
Brilliant. Yeah,
I was up the moors a couple of months back. Dry day, but incredibly windy, and I had a slight uphill, and I had the throttle pinned at 30 mile an hour, and it just wasn't giving me any more.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I ever felt like that I didn't have enough power on a 125.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll do my DAS, and then I've got to decide, can I bring myself to sell my bike? That's another question.
That's one hurdle of its own.
That's a whole other question, that is.
Selling him. You've got a him, haven't you?
I've got a him, yeah. Yeah, so I've got a him, right, so your bike, right, this is a funny thing because I'm terrible with names, but your bike's called Wisdom.
Yeah.
And I've remembered that.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what that says about me, the fact that I forget humans' names, but I remember motorbikes' names.
Well, you know.
Maybe I've got my priorities straight.
Yeah.
Right, so yours is Wisdom.
Yes.
And then, Zach, yours is Midnight? Yeah, okay. Again, I'm surprised that I've remembered that because I'm terrible with names. So yours is Midnight, and then of course mine is Rafiki, and I never did tell you why mine was called Rafiki. Okay, so the story about how Rafiki came to be known as Rafiki. So I got this idea in my head back in 2015 that I think I want a motorbike, and I'm at BMAD Bike Festival. And I'm looking around the bikes. I love all these bikes. I'm very quickly realising that I like sports bikes. And then I went home. I realised that actually once I'd gone home that I didn't even know how to ride a bike. Not that I'd never done a test or a CBT, but I literally didn't know how do you change gear, where's the clutch.
Yeah.
That's another story. But yeah, I was going home and jumping on YouTube and looking up how, you know, motorbike controls and how you actually ride. But anyway, 2016 I'm at BMAD again. Then I'm at BMAD 2017, and at this point I still haven't got a bike. So I've gone like 2 or 3 years and I still haven't got a motorbike. A guy at BMAD 2017, he let me sit on a YZF R125. Just literally as I was leaving the show. And when I left the show, I was grinning so much. I walked all the way back to the car park and I hurt my cheeks because I was grinning so much.
Tom Cruise here.
Yeah, I'd hurt my cheeks because I was grinning so much. But anyway, we digress. I get home, and then the realisation of the fact that for 2 or 3 years I wanted a motorbike and I still didn't have one kind of got me a little bit depressed, if I'm honest. And what I hadn't realised was that in the background the kids were watching Lion King. Okay. So Rafiki the motorbike is named after Rafiki from Lion King. So Rafiki the monkey, he's some sort of monkey. And at that moment of despair and a little bit of being depressed that I didn't have a motorbike, was at that moment that Rafiki hit Simba over the head with his stick. And Simba says, what did you do that for? And Rafiki says, it doesn't matter, it's in the past. And then Simba says, yeah, but it still hurt though. And then Rafiki says at that moment, he says, yes, the past can hurt, but the way I see it, you can either run from it or you can learn from it. And in that moment I learned that going to a bike show once a year and then complaining that I still didn't have a motorbike was never going to get me a motorbike. I had to learn from the fact that I'd gone all that time without a bike. And in that moment I learned that I either drop the idea or I find a way to get the money together and get a bike. Following year I got a bike.
Is anyone else who's been watching the channel like me been waiting for that story for about I think it's about 6 weeks we've been waiting for that one.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming.
He was going to say it. He did promise he was going to tell us. There it is, Rafiki.
Yeah, it's a funny one. Most people name their bikes with female names, and of course I didn't. So yeah, so that's the story. So Rafiki the motorbike was named for about 12 months before I actually bought him. This is such a different riding position as well. You know what I was saying about the power?
Yeah.
That like you don't have to use it, it's nice to have it on tap.
Yeah.
I already want to use it.
Yeah,
I must admit, I don't mean to sound like Jeremy Clarkson, speed and power,
Yeah.
but having it there,
There's something about it.
I want to experience it now. Yeah. And I think that's why people who do the 125 route, and I've seen a number of people on YouTube, they'll do the 125 route, and they're all saying, "Oh, I'm not changing my bike. I'm just going to go and do my DAS."
Yeah.
And they go and do the DAS, change the bike, because they've experienced it, and they want that next.
And then when you get back on that, you're like,
Yeah.
what does this do? It doesn't, and
Yep.
you feel the dangers. You know what I mean? The traffic and stuff like that. And you're like, well,
Yeah.
do I want to? You gotta get out of trouble, don't you? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, so I can see why people do it now. I can see why they're going because it's that next level of biking, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like if you only do what you already know, then you don't grow.
Yeah.
As a person or as a biker, if you're just doing the same thing over and over again, you're not experiencing new things and you're not growing.
No.
So my CBT instructor did say, look, when you've got the extra power, he said everything just feels easier. He said you just feel more confident on the bike, and he wasn't wrong. There's definitely a level of confidence, next level of confidence, that comes with riding a bike that's got the extra power. And yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. To have friends who are willing to let me ride their bikes, it's a really nice feeling. I mean, I'd never let anyone ride my bike before today, outside of an MOT, of course. So it was nice to swap bikes, get a different feel for different machines. Well, it's been lovely being out in a group, being able to ride a 600, being with friends who are happy to let me have a go on their bikes and vice versa. It's been a lovely experience. And that age-old question of 125s, are they worth it? 600s, the debate about the two. I think we've answered the question again today. 125s definitely have their place for riders that aren't confident, inexperienced riders who might not think, they might not be sure that biking is for them, and certainly young riders. 125s definitely have their place, but I must admit, having been on a pair of 600s now, albeit for a very short amount of time, having experienced the different kind of biking that it is. The extra power that the bikes have, the extra weight that the bikes have, you know, they have a more planted feel to them. I have to say, I can't wait to get one.